Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Business Spotlight, the podcast where we shine a light on the incredible entrepreneurs and business owners in our community. I'm your host, Craig Whipperman, with Music City Action Coach, and today we're excited to introduce you to a career restaurateur. Every episode, we explore the personal journeys behind the businesses that are shaping our local landscape, and today is no exception. We're going to sit down with Charlie Eblen, who has held various operational roles in the restaurant industry, working for the likes of Bar Louie, Ruby Tuesdays, and Logans. His most recent venture is as founder of Singletree Barbeque, named in honor of his grandfather, and I'm sure we'll hear some details around how that naming came about. We're going to hear all about Charlie's journey as we spend some time with him today, and whether you're a fellow entrepreneur, an aspiring business owner, or simply someone who loves to support local businesses, the conversation is sure to inspire and inform. So, Charlie, how you doing today?
And if I was any better, I'd have to sit on my hands, keep from waving at everybody.
That's awesome.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, this should be a lot of fun. We got to know each other a little bit when we spoke on the phone last week, and I find your journey very intriguing. Like I said, you've worked with many different restaurants and
Right.
cut your teeth, and man, have had significant responsibilities in each one of those roles, and
Yes.
and then that's kind of evolved now into this endeavor into the barbecue business, which actually you look the part, man. I would, if I walked into a place and saw that you were taking care of the barbecue, I'm like, that's the guy I want making my barbecue.
And
That's
I appreciate it. I
yeah,
appreciate it. Being in corporate America for so long, I finally just got between the Army and corporate America, I finally just got tired of shaving. So I, I just don't shave anymore.
yeah. Yeah, well, you know what? Hey, man, that's what entrepreneurship is supposed to provide, right? Some independence and freedom.
There's got to be some perks in this. Otherwise, nobody'd want to do it.
Yeah. Well, share with our viewers your how you got started. And you're originally, well, I know you've spent a lot of time in Tennessee, in Middle Tennessee. Were you born in
I wasn't. I wasn't. I was actually born in Atlanta.
oh, wow.
I lived with my mother, and she stayed in and around Atlanta, uh, probably for 4 or 5 years after I was born, and then we moved to Phoenix, Arizona.
Wow.
Then we moved back to Atlanta. Then we moved to Houston, Texas. Then we moved back to Atlanta. Um, and
Wow.
Shortly after that, I wanted to come live with my dad and get up here in Tennessee, and so that's what I did. I moved up here. I moved to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and it was either 88 or 89,
Wow.
somewhere in that neighborhood. The city, the city and town looked a lot different then than it does today. It was. I used to tell people that I was from Nashville because nobody had ever heard of Murfreesboro. So
Right.
now everybody, for the most part, knows what Murfreesboro is. It's a little suburb of Nashville. So, but yeah, I kind of got here. My dad played golf, was in the golf business, sold golf equipment, was a superintendent of golf courses, and he's kind of like the 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 grass genie. He can just kind of look at it and make grass grow. So, um, but he always been in and around the golf business. And as a kid, hanging out with him, I always thought that I was going to play professional golf.
Hmm.
So in the summer times, I would leave and I'd go back to Atlanta, and I would just hang out with my mother over the summers while I was out of school. And what really kind of triggered me into getting into restaurants was just that. My dad knew a head pro at one of the golf courses in Atlanta, and called him and said, "Hey, my son wants to come out there and hit some golf balls. Do you have a job that he can do? You don't have to pay him. Just let him hit some practice balls and hang out." So uh, that's what I did. He let me come out there, and I'd clean up the range and clean carts and goof off and clean guys' clubs as they was come in, and then I could go hit practice balls all day long. So one day it was a weekend, and the restaurant and the golf course was just packed. Right, it's a beautiful Saturday afternoon. You can imagine golf course is just slammed. There's all kinds
Mhm.
of people running around. So I walk into the restaurant, had all my stuff done, walk into the restaurant, and the manager is just kind of just bouncing off the walls. He's in the weeds, doesn't know which way to go. I said, man, do you need some help? I'd be happy to help you. I'm not doing anything. And he said, yeah, man, if you could just could you go back there and wash some of those dishes for me? That'd be great. I said, sure, no problem. So I, go back to the kitchen. I wash all the dishes. Took me like 5 minutes. Wasn't any big deal. I come back out to the dining room. I said, hey, boss, what you need now, man? Like that's done. That was easy. And he says, wow, whatever. Just anything you can do to help. Okay. So I didn't know anything about the business. I didn't know anything about restaurants. I just thought, okay, well, there's people, sitting around all these tables with a whole bunch of dirty plates.
Mhm.
And it's kind of one of my things. I hate tables with empty, dirty plates. Just always have. So I just started walking around and busting tables off. And I take the dishes back, wash them, and then go back out and get some more. And then I realized people needed something to drink. They were running out of their sweet tea or their water. So I thought, hey, why not? Let me just, hey, would you like some more tea or would you like some more water? Would you like another soda? And so I just go get them those, and I hung out in there for probably an hour or so, hour and a half, and I just realized that it was one of the easiest ways to go meet anybody and everybody. And these guys would tell me about their rounds and how they were playing, and what depending on the generation they were in, they would tell me about their day, or
Mhm.
oh, look at this boy, we appreciate you working so hard. And I'm like, I don't even work here, man. I'm just helping out. I just wanted to come say hi to folks. So I got to meet so many people, and then every weekend, anytime the restaurant would get busy, I would just go do the same thing. I'd just
Mhm.
go wash some dishes and bust some tables, and shake hands and high five people, and it just kind of got to be a thing.
Yeah.
And I just really fell in love with the fact that it felt like, to me at the time, it was the only business that we could meet so many different people in such a short amount of time, and really be able to learn their stories and learn about them, in a 30 to 60-second conversation.
Mhm.
And it really kind of shaped my whole career. It really kind of pushed me to wanting to learn more about the business, and learn more about the food side, and learn more about the hospitality side, and how it really got to be one of those things that kind of shaped my mentality of how restaurants should be ran, um, simply just off of those conversations throughout that summer, right? So um, I didn't ever really realize it and put that much thought into it until I opened my own place and really started thinking about my career and how and what I truly believed
Mhm.
made restaurants run well. And going back to the roots of it, undeniable hospitality is probably the number one thing that people look for when they go out to eat, right? So you can have average to above average food, and and really, really good service and be successful.
Mhm.
Uh, you can't have really, really great food and bad service and be successful.
No, you can't.
So it's it just really that's where I kind of catapulted into restaurants. So when it was time for me to be 16 years old and actually have a real job and make money and pay my bills and pay the car insurance and all the things that I would need in life, restaurants is just where I went. So I went and got a job, and I was very fortunate to get a job at a restaurant, where the executive chef really liked to take on young people and mold them into really good chefs.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I remember being 16 years old and have never made anything outside of a microwave or a grill, and you know, and seeing these guys really like make you know Bernaise sauces and Alfredo sauces and all the butter sauces and all these soups and everything from complete scratch. There was no cans, right? It was all 100% scratch and 100% made right there in front of you. and how you can take all these little ingredients and put them all together, and it comes up with this amazing, chicken Alfredo that, we made right there on the fly in front of everybody. Right.
Wow.
So,
Mhm.
I was very fortunate in that, but because of that, it really kind of sparked the fire into how to learn how to cook more.
Mm.
So, I spent a lot of time with my grandfather and my father out at my grandfather's farm, and sitting by that fire and cooking on that fire really kind of, I was learning how to cook with open fire and live fire without even knowing it.
Mm.
Simply because, and I don't think they were meaning to teach me. I think they were getting a little bit too much bourbon and cigars in them to manage the fire like it needed to be managed. So I was knighted and anointed to be in charge of the fire. So, but that's kind of why we have what we have today, and why I cook barbecue. And I think it's part of why the reason there's so many people that enjoy our food. Right? There's so
Yeah.
much love and passion that goes into it.
Yeah. 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 That's awesome. So, the chef, your first job, that was your first job. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
First
then,
real job. Yeah,
and that was in Murfreesboro.
it was.
What?
It was a restaurant inside of a hotel, Garden Plaza Hotel, and the restaurant was called Ezra's.
Ezra's. Hmm. So, that's pretty awesome. And how long were you there? Was it through your high school years that you
Yeah,
were?
total. So I was there. I was there 3 years of high school, and then I left and went to Atlanta to go to college. And that didn't work out. I was going down there to play golf. Did it just stars didn't align. So when I came home, I went right back to that same restaurant. At this point in time, it had changed names. It was now Shoeless Joe's Cafe and Sports Bar.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back there. The executive chef was the same guy. He hired me immediately back. This time I was hired back as an assistant kitchen manager. Um, and then I was there for about a year. And my brother and I decided to join the army.
Oh, wow.
We came home from working one night, and just like any other restaurant team member, we worked 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and that's what we did every day, right? It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't about anything other than just going to cook at Shoeless Joe's. Um, and my brother had worked up. He stayed here, and he had worked up to being a sous chef. I was now the kitchen manager, and we were sitting at my house one night, and we're not biologically related, but we've been buddies ever since. So um, we we looked at each other and said, "What are we doing? Are we going to continue to work our way up the ladder? What are we going to do? We're paying our bills, we're having a good time, but what are we actually doing?" And the next morning, we hopped in the car and went to the recruiter's office.
Wow. What year was that?
That would have been 99.
And how long did you serve?
Total 5 years. So I
Hmm.
was active for 2 and got hurt. I was out for about 6 months, and then went back into the reserves for 3. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So that was after Desert Storm.
Yep.
Did you get deployed anywhere?
I did not. I got hurt, and because I was still on crutches when my unit was deployed, they made me stay in the rear.
Ah, bummer.
My brother went to Bosnia and Afghanistan, um, and our unit was the first unit in Baghdad after 9/11.
Oh, wow.
He was right there in the heart of it.
Mhm.
A little bit of guilt for not being there next to him, but
Yeah.
it's there's reasons why I wasn't there, and now I give back in other ways.
Yeah, I hear you. And so Charlie, how did you did you finish college? Did you finish school?
No, I didn't. So when I got back from the Army and was completely back off of active duty, I decided to go back to school. And Nashville State had a culinary program.
Oh, wow.
And so I started going to that. At this point in time, I was a general manager of a restaurant. So um, it was challenging from a schedule standpoint, but um, I was I think if I would have gone to culinary school straight out of high school, I probably would have completed the course and graduated. But I had learned so much through high school and then after high school and then being in the military. And then at that point in time, working my way back up into the management ranks of now I'm a GM of a restaurant. Um, some of the classes that I was taking, I should have I kept asking, can I just test out of them?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand why I'm taking this class. It just doesn't make sense. It's very rudimentary, right? So, what does P&L stand for? Here's how to hold a knife, right? So, it was, I mean, look, it was, culinary 101 basic
Yeah.
stuff. So I just got bored with it.
Yeah.
And instead of going to class, I would just go to work and I'd get a copy of when the test was, and I'd just go to do the test, and I passed. Like I made good grades. In college, you don't have to show up. You just
Yeah.
have to turn in your work
Right.
and take the test. That's all you have to do. So I passed, but I was just bored.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like my time was better suited to doing other things. Um, I think it's one of the first times in my life that not listening to my father was the right choice for me. Otherwise I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I probably would have gone to school for something totally different, but um, it's what I enjoyed, what I did. I would come to the restaurant and learn something new every single day, whether I had somebody there to teach it to me or not.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people all the time that I got a PhD in hard knocks from a restaurant running, right?
Well,
So
I've always told young kids, mine included, that you know that wait tables. I mean, you'll get as much education and learn immediate responsibility by
yeah,
waiting tables, because you got to juggle a bunch of things, and you've got to develop a relationship, with
oh yeah,
each one of your customers in no time, and they'll give you feedback, by
yeah,
what kind of tip you get. So I think it's, restaurant business is about as close to real life in a small setting as can be.
very much so. It's the easiest, hardest job you'll ever have, right? I mean, it's when you truly break down what a restaurant is, it's very, very simple, right? You have to be nice to people, you have to
Hmm.
give them good food, and you have to clean. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that's really what it breaks down to. And we overcomplicate it so much every
Hmm.
single day. We try to put too many steps into things. We make these insanely difficult recipes. Try to we try to make this amazing dish that is almost impossible to duplicate. And and instead of doing all of that, we could just break it down and say, okay, hey, X, Y, and Z is what we're going to do. And if we executed on X, Y, and Z perfectly every single day, did our blocking, did our tackling, we would win the game.
Hmm.
But we want to overcomplicate it, and it's make it way too hard for everybody else to do. But
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Well, the restaurant business is not easy,
no,
because of exactly what you just said. I mean, in the kitchen, there's hopefully a very efficient and effective operations, and then out on the floor, it's got to be the same thing, But again, you're still, and the service, the people have to be felt like they're special. when you,
So our mission statement is something that we live and die by, and
Mhm.
our mission is to become the Nike of barbecue.
There you go. That's
Right?
perfect.
So it's about as simple as you can be.
Yeah.
Now, from there, how we're going to do that is we're going to help build and grow community. We're going to do that through undeniable hospitality, storytelling, and the perfect plate of barbecue. So if people leave my restaurant, they go sit in their car, and the first words out of their mouth are not, "Are they really that nice?" Then we didn't accomplish our mission, right?
Yeah.
If we didn't tell every single person that came in the restaurant who we are and why we are doing what we are doing, then we didn't accomplish our mission. And if we sold somebody and gave somebody a plate of barbecue that wasn't 100% perfect, then we didn't accomplish our mission.
Yeah.
So it's just that simple. You have to have a North Star. You have to undeniably treat people with hospitality. You have to sell great food, and you got to tell the story. Nobody's a good friend of mine, Sean Walshep, says, no one's coming to tell your story. This isn't the field of dreams, right? Just because you build a restaurant doesn't mean they're coming. they're, you can open up the prettiest, most expensive restaurant in America, and people are not going to stand outside waiting for you to open the doors just
Yeah.
because you built it.
Yeah.
You have to go out and tell your story. It's why I so quickly voluntarily join shows like yours
Hmm.
and have my own show and do all of these things, go to the local news stations, and I'm maniacal about making sure that I post on social medias multiple times a day on all 7 different platforms. And I go to these networking events and all of these things because of just simply that. You have to tell your story. If you
Hmm.
don't go tell your story, no one's going to come and see. Food tastes different when the owner or the manager or the cook's story. If you know
Hmm.
why they're doing what they do, it's going to taste different.
No question. No question about it. And so, you've hit on something that I think a lot of businesses kind of, maybe they do know it, but I think a lot of businesses maybe take it for granted. You do have to have a North Star. You do have to have a vision that's bigger, kind of bigger than your business, uh, to engage not only your customers but your employees, uh,
Mhm.
and get them to buy into what your vision is, and that's engaged. I think everybody wants to be a part of something bigger, you know, and
Very much so. And I think it has to be so big that people laugh at you.
yeah, right,
Because if people aren't laughing at you, then your goals aren't big enough,
right.
right? I looked at my wife. So one of the goals that we have right now for my show, my podcast, is we plan on having Drew Brees, um, Brandon Landry, um, Denzel Washington, and Deion Sanders all on my show.
Wow.
All for different reasons. Brandon Landry is the founder and one of the owners of Walk-Ons and Small Sliders. Drew Brees is obviously an retired NFL quarterback, but he's also a partner in those restaurants. Denzel Washington is one of my favorite actors, and if you ever see one of his clips of when he's talking, he's extremely motivational.
Mhm.
And then Deion Sanders is probably one of my favorite athletes, not from anything other than he was a dual sport athlete. I have a baseball that was signed by him and Otis Nixon when he played for the Braves. And to see how he has come from being an all-star, arguably one of the best athletic humans ever to play sports, to now he is coaching and teaching and leading others with, you may not like his style. He might be too flashy. He might be a little exuberant for you. But if you listen to the words that come out of his mouth, he's him. He
Mhm.
is he is who he is. And if you like him, great. If you don't like him, great. Like he's not upset about it either way. He's going to be who he is. And I absolutely love that
Yeah.
because to me, if you have authenticity,
Yeah.
if you are you every day, no matter who's in the room, um, I, it just it just fills my soul with love to know
Mhm.
that there's people out there that are just they are who they are.
Yeah.
And when you can be that authentic 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I think people just naturally are drawn to you. And it's just so, you know,
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, I tell people I have those goals, and the reason I bring those up is simply the fact of I'm a little dumb redneck from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, that cooks barbecue, and I tell people all the time that I will have those folks on my show,
mhm.
and people laugh, and it's funny to them. They're like, oh yeah, okay, And it was the same thing when I started my company and I had a food truck.
Yeah.
People come to me and they would say, "Hey, how's your little food truck business going?" Oh, it's going pretty good, thanks. Appreciate you. How's your 9 to 5 going? You know, it's fine.
Yeah.
So that's those things. When I tell people those things, and they laugh and they chuckle and they go, "Yeah, right, yeah, okay." They also said this. They also laughed when I told them I was going to start this business. They also laughed when I told them that I was going to be on the news, and I'm
Mhm.
on the news anywhere between 10 and 12 times a year,
Wow.
and on multiple different channels. Right?
Mhm.
They I have a whole retail segment. We're doing so many amazing things, and it's not because I'm some genius. It's
Mhm.
because I have a plan, I have a goal, and I stick to it, and I figure things out. I think the best entrepreneurs in the world are not the smartest people in the room. They're honestly average C students. But what they do is they figure things out. They figure out
Mhm.
how to get done, how to get it done, how to make it happen, how to make people happy, how to grow their business with no money. And when you do those things, I don't I told somebody the other day, I don't want to make millions upon millions of dollars because it'll make me lazy.
Mhm.
It'll make it to where the point I'll just, you get to where you can just throw a whole bunch of money at something and it'll fix the problem. Well, that's not how businesses are built.
Mhm.
Businesses are built by going, ooh, X, Y, and Z isn't working. How can I fix it? Hmm, I only got $727 in my checking account. How am I gonna fix $1,000 problem with $727? And you got to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice. When it
Right.
comes down to whether or not your wife and kids are going to eat and you have a roof over your head and taking care of your family, you figure things out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly right. I think, you're right. Entrepreneurs maybe generally might not be the smartest kid in the room. If they were, they would be sitting up front asking all the questions, taking all the notes, studying hard for the test.
Yep.
But there's one thing that's for sure, and you hit the nail on the head. They're resilient, and they don't look at failure as complete failure. They look at failure as that's not the way to do it. Let's figure out the right way to do it.
Oh
So
yeah.
there is a mindset there, and there's this streak of determination, to make it through and reach the goal. That's what entrepreneurship's all about. So
Talent
I could,
only gets you so far.
yeah, right,
You can be the
right,
most talented guy in the room all day long.
yeah.
But if you have the ability to get beat, then you're not the best person in the room.
Right, right. And you know what? You mentioned the four gentlemen that you want to have on your show, and you talked a little bit about Dion, and of course Dion back in the '90s, I guess it was, right? He was playing both ways, both sports. I'm
Yeah.
surprised he didn't play both ways in football.
Me too.
That would have been a real story, right? But I
Right.
do remember Dion back in those days being, I thought, very flashy, very self-centered,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
but I've come to learn that, uh, you know, all performers have some way of like getting themselves ready for what it is they're about to do. And athletes are just like that, right? They have to convince themselves that they can play at the level that they are capable of playing. And I think that was
Sure.
probably Dion's shtick.
He
Uh,
said something recently about just that. I got 1,000 suits, but can't figure out who I am.
hmm,
I got I got 100 pairs of shoes and I'm not walking in the right direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got 10 cars in my driveway and I'm not going anywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
but he talks about finding a good Lord and all those things, and that's what's brought him to where he is today. And that's a whole nother conversation. But at the end of the day, it's I think a lot of times when people show off and they do those things, just in general, it's just that they're just, hey, look at me, who picked me,
Right.
look at me. And it's an insecurity thing, right?
Yeah.
They want to be the center of attention, not because they want to be in the limelight, but because they want to get some accolades because they don't feel as good as
Yeah.
they really are.
Right.
But
Right.
you won't tell me or be able to convince me otherwise that there's professional athletes in whatever sport it may be that don't have some sort of insecurity to some level,
Mm-hmm.
simply because of there's no way to have that kind of drive and that kind of ability. um, no one wakes up in the morning and wants to go hit 1,000 golf balls.
Yeah.
No one wants to go shoot a million free throw shots.
Mm-hmm.
No one wants to go try to make 130-yard passes to hit a dime. Like nobody wakes up and goes, "Ooh, that's exciting."
Yeah.
But there's something inside of them that goes, "I got to do that so I can be the best on the field. I
Right.
got to do that so I can be the best for my team. I got to
Right.
do that so I can do the best for my family." Whatever it is. I mean, look, I've been cooking for many years, and I've been in the restaurant business for 30 some odd years, and I still read books that have to do with running restaurants. I
Mm.
still I still watch videos that show me how to cook something differently. I was I I was looking up a recipe and getting ideas for recipes for a pickled onion and cucumber salad yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I already have it. So why am I just use the one I got, right? But why can't I make it better?
Mm-hmm.
So the more, we just decided we got rid of the seed oils in my restaurant. Now we're using beef tallow to fry all of our foods. So it's if you're always trying to get better and you always continuously looking for the next level, there has to be some sort of insecurity there, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just to give that kind of drive. I don't think I'm some amazing pitmaster that is running a restaurant. I think my food's okay. I think
Mm-hmm.
we do a pretty good job, and we're always, the thing that separates me, I think, from most is I won't quit. There's not a okay, hey, I'm done. I don't care how many hours I got to put in. I don't care, I mean, it doesn't matter to me what I'm doing as long as we're trying to get better.
Yeah.
Uh, it's I spent 6 hours boiling a fryer out yesterday. I'm the owner. Why am I doing it? Right? It's because I want to do it and help and build and grow my team, because I
Yeah.
want them to have a higher expectation and standard than I do. And if
Yeah.
I'm not willing to do it, how are they gonna do it?
Right.
So it's just always to me about trying to just get better than I was yesterday. And
Right.
if you do that, I don't think you can be beat. You might you
Right.
might you might strike out. That doesn't mean you're beat.
Right. Right. Well, so Charlie, you touch on something that we teach and coach on all the time is that, the business cannot grow beyond the capability of the business owner, right? And so we encourage continual learning and education and, reading like what you suggest and listening to podcasts and, being a part of mentor groups or what have you. But that's just core of what we do. And it looks like you've kind of figured that out. Have you had mentors along your journey? Or have you kind of like
Yeah,
figured it out on your own here and there, or how's that?
I I, I had a couple. I have a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm getting more now. I wouldn't say more or different ones or anything. Like, just I'm adding to the people that I can call and ask questions to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One thing I have found over the last almost 4 years now, right at 4 years, is there's a difference in, trying to word this correctly. There's a big difference in a career corporate executive restaurateur and a entrepreneur that's built and ran restaurants. They think differently. What's important is different. What I found, one of the biggest things that I found in the entrepreneur side is people mean way more to entrepreneurs than corporate restaurant executives. And it's not even close. I mean, it's if I walked up to some of my senior executives, CEO, COO, board of directors for corporate restaurant chains and told them, hey, you're going to have 10% turnover this year, but you're going to make $1 million less. Or you're going to have 20% turnover this year and make $2 million more. Most of it from just, and I'm not saying that I've asked this question to people before, but it's just the way that it makes me feel is entrepreneur would take the lower turnover and less money, where a corporate organization would take the more money and slightly higher turnover. I mean, 20% turnover in the restaurant business is insanely low to begin with, but if you do that in corporate America, if I gave you a slightly higher turnover, but I made a whole bunch more money, as a operator in corporate America, I would be looked at as somebody that's doing a really good job. And in the entrepreneur side, in the private sector, especially small business, I would much rather have a solid team that has stayed with me, because I can make 10 times that over the course of time versus right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I tend to agree with you. When I heard you setting that up, I'm like, yeah, I can see how in the corporate world it would tend more that way. And in the entrepreneur world, it does feel like there would be closer relationship, because I don't know, you're building a team, but you're also building a family, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And so and turnover, and of course, that's and in certain states, I guess they've upped the minimum wage and putting a squeeze on on the owners. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's hit Nashville. There's not any squeeze on the minimum
Not yet.
wage having an effect here, but of course, there's the I guess the trend over the last, and we're probably coming out of it, but there right after the pandemic, nobody wanting to work, everybody wanting to just cash their government checks. But
Yeah,
where
I
are
think
you?
everybody's working now. It's not, I
Yeah.
don't think it's really as much about not wanting to work now as much the wages for Nashville went drastically up.
Hmm.
A $12 an hour grill cook is not a $12 an hour grill cook anymore.
Hmm.
It's a $15, $16 an hour position.
Right.
And it was caused by the pandemic, but
Yeah.
nobody's coming to work for what used to be, we thought, well, I mean, prime example, my last corporate position, we had people that were working our line that were making, 13, 14, $15 an hour. And I thought we were grossly overpaying in comparison to other areas. And they didn't come back to work until we hit $20 an hour.
Oh, wow.
It was a big difference. Now, look, if you're a restaurant and you're doing $100,000+ a week, I mean, pay your people what you need to pay them, right? The hard part is companies like mine, 1 unit locations that, we just can't afford to pay that kind of money.
Right.
Not if we want to, not if we want to stay in business.
Yeah. Yeah. And so is that keeping staff, finding the right staff, finding the folks who buy into your vision? Is that a challenge for you?
Finding the people that buy in is the challenge. What I have over the last 4 years, the first 2 years, it was pretty much just me and my wife. My business partner would come in and help me every once in a while, but I mean, for the most part, it was just me and her. I did a lot of it myself. I did all the cooking, all the prepping, and all that by myself. And then Sarah would come and work an event with me every once in a while. But and then I hired somebody, and then that presents its own set of challenges, and we kept continuously growing. So I had to start hiring more. But and then once we got the brick and mortar, you can't run a brick and mortar restaurant by yourself.
Right.
It's just physically impossible. I tried it. I tried real hard. You know, but finding people that were not the smartest people in the room has been a very challenging thing for me.
Mhm.
I don't ever feel like that I'm the smartest guy in the room, uh, but I do have certain things that I want done certain ways, and there is no changing those things.
Mhm.
And you know, the way a recipe is written, it's written for a reason. So
Mhm.
that's hard to it's hard to find it's hard to find people that want to just follow, they come, a lot of people that work in 1 unit locations, 2 unit locations, 3 unit locations, they come to cook in those places because there's some flexibility and autonomy to be able to do what you want.
Mhm.
And although I do have those things as well, the current recipes are written the way they're written, right? So we're not changing those. Those are going to be the way they are, and that's hard for people that want to be in this environment.
Mhm.
Um, if you want to be in a black and white, this is the recipe, how we do it, and so forth, then you can go work at Chili's, and you're going to pull it out of a bag and heat it up X, Y, and Z and throw it on a plate. But and then at the same time, I don't have all of the tools and resources that a Chili's or a Logan's or a Bar Louie or Ruby's, any of those places have to spend on, sending it to my marketing department or my culinary department and say, hey, build out a build out a build sheet for the entire menu, right?
Mhm.
It's me. I'm that
Yeah.
guy. So, it's hard from a sense of um, getting people on the team that want to help you build while doing things the way you want them done.
Mhm.
Makes a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. And then keeping them, is it a challenge keeping them on staff, or do you find them?
Um, I think the hardest part for me was when we opened the restaurant. Um, it was hard for me finding people with experience
Mhm.
just to keep them on the team because they could go to 2 doors down here and get a restaurant making as much money or more. Um, I have found that the finding good people doesn't necessarily coordinate with finding experienced people. I have currently on my team right now. I have one girl. She's actually out on medical leave, but she just had a baby, so she's been out, but never had a job before.
Mhm.
And she was Employee of the Year last year for us.
Oh, wow.
And then I have another gentleman on my team who's probably got just as much experience in the restaurant business as I do, um, and does an amazing job. And so I would put them two in the same category,
Mhm.
not for skill sets, but for the people they are.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's you don't have to know how to hold a knife to be a great team member,
Yeah, right.
right? You have to come to work with a smile and be excited and ready to learn and ready to get better, right?
Yeah.
Um, that's one of my biggest things is if you can come to work every day with an attitude of I'm going to get better than I was yesterday, and I don't really care what your skill set is, we
Yeah.
can get better, right? I mean, I have a gentleman that worked for me almost 20 years ago who just came back to work for me here. He's in his 60s and never it takes time.
Yeah.
You got to learn that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me, Charlie? I think we're having a little bit of technicals going on
Oh,
there.
there we go.
Yeah. Oh, now you're back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got you now.
Yeah. It does. It definitely takes time.
Yep, I
And
got you.
you know what's really cool, man, is I'm hearing you're creating this a culture of learning, you know, and offering this kind of learning environment to people who come to work for you, which is, I mean, people want to be involved in those types of environments, and you know, with you promoting that, I'm sure that's, you know, attributed to your success. But um, what
It's been good.
what is the biggest challenge that you're struggling with right now in the business?
Um, Probably the biggest thing is the marketing
Hmm.
side. It's always a challenge. When you don't have a very large budget and you're trying to make sure that everybody and their brother knows who you are, it makes it really difficult.
Yeah.
And tell people that, social media is probably the best thing that ever happened to restaurants.
Hmm.
Because you can reach, you know, hundreds of thousands of people just by turning your phone around and making a video and putting it on Instagram.
Yeah.
And but it's also one of the hardest things because restaurant guys are not marketers. We're not social media people. And most of the people that own restaurants today are similar to me in the fashion of they're 40, 35, 40, 50, 60 years old.
Hmm.
And we didn't really grow up in the, Instagram and TikTok world.
Right.
Uh, I mean, Facebook didn't, I mean, hell, the internet wasn't out until the mid 2000s. So,
Yeah.
um, and then Facebook came shortly after that. And I mean, I tell people all the time, I use Facebook to stay in touch with my army buddies and my high school friends and college friends. Like it's kind of like the postal service without having to send something in the mail. You can just send them a message and say, "Hey, man, how
Mhm.
you doing?"
Yeah.
Um, up until probably 3 years ago, um, I, I didn't know anything or care really anything about social media.
Mhm.
Um, and now I'm extremely active on 7 platforms and have my own podcast, making an 8th platform. And we cut up clips and post those to everything, and we have a YouTube channel, and we try to take our news appearances. I mean, it's just so much,
Yeah.
and takes so much time. It's really hard to market your brand, um, with no experience and
Mhm.
trying to learn those. It's learning a whole nother industry,
Mhm.
while I'm trying to run my own company. And then on top of all of that, you have to stay in touch with all the algorithms and all the other things that go along with it. So it's just a totally different world.
Mhm.
And we're learning, we're getting better, right? We're
Mhm.
we're we're getting better and better every day, but God, it's hard, man. It's so
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. How long has the brick and mortar been open?
We opened up February last year, so we're coming up on a year and a half now, 2 years almost.
Hmm.
2 years in February, so yeah.
So are you meeting your growth goals? Your
Um, School just started back about a month ago, and that slowed us down, which is what happened last year as well.
Mhm.
But prior to that, we have been up double digits every week. So it's been all year long. We've been up at least double digits, which has been phenomenal. It's been great.
Wow. Wow,
Um,
that's awesome.
I'm interested to see what happens this fall, but with it when the weather gets colder, barbecue typically slows down a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're rocking and rolling and moving and shaking and doing everything we can, and we're looking at adding another unit, um, more of a concession stand style place,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
in a batting cage down here. Uh,
Hmm.
we're um, working on the retail side, trying to get our sauces into a couple of grocery stores. We'll see where that takes us, but that's not the easiest thing to do either.
Yeah.
We got our hands in a couple of different pots,
Yeah.
trying to grow. I've never, my entire career, Craig, has always been in restructuring restaurants, whether it's been bankruptcies or just restructuring finances or restructuring teams. So that's a total different side than building brands. So taking my own and trying to build it has been such an amazing experience and learnings that I can tell you that if I ever had to go back to corporate America, the way I run restaurants would be it'd be 180 degrees polar opposite. It's just a totally different world. And I would imagine that I'd be far more successful than I ever was. And I thought I was a pretty successful restaurateur before. So it's amazing what this has taught me, and just in some of the basic forms of running restaurants.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so one more question then, and you kind of open the door to it. What is your biggest learning then with opening this Singletree Barbecue?
Oh, that one's easy. It's all about people. Hands down, 100%. It's all about people. You cannot, I don't care how good you are, I don't care how good you think you are, you cannot operate a successful business without having people bought into your dream, your vision. And it's not theirs, so they don't care. At their soul, they do not care that Charlie Eblen wants to be the Nike of barbecue. They just don't. But that's my number one job at this brand, is to get people to buy into that dream. And if I can get them to buy into that dream, then I will accomplish my goal, and my team will help me build the legacy that Singletree is. We didn't touch on it, but all of this started because I was fired from my job from Bar Louie in the middle of a pandemic. And I started my own company because my wife looked at me and told me to stop depending on everybody else and start depending on myself and do what I love to do. I named this company Singletree Woodfire Barbecue because the name of my grandfather's farm was Singletree Farm.
Oh, awesome.
He was a federal judge. He was an attorney. He was in the Army for 28 years. And the one thing that he always did was help build and grow community. And he wanted to have a restaurant. He never did it. So I started this because of him and how much I looked up to what the impacts that he made, not only in Tennessee, but throughout the entire world. And to be a man that had so much impact just in humanity, if I could be half the man that he ever was, then I did a pretty good job. So I wanted Singletree to mean way more to me than just barbecue, mean way more to me than just a restaurant, way more than just a business. And I want my kids and I want my grandkids to look at me like I looked at my grandparents, and looked at me like I looked at my dad. And if they look at me one day and go, I want to be as good as he is, then I did my job.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's fantastic. That is fantastic, man. It's been great talking with you, Charlie, and learning about your hey, man, your big hairy vision.
Yeah,
it's awesome. I love to hear stories like that, and I love to hear your transition too from the corporate world into the entrepreneurial role. And I mean, there's so many other people who have done the same thing, and don't see themselves going back, regardless. So I wish you the best of luck. Tell me, and the viewers now, the address of your restaurant.
So we are at 2805 Old Fort Parkway, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. you can't miss us. We got the biggest sign on the building. There's a big blue smoker right out front in the parking lot. If you want to, you can call us at 615-307-0120. And then all of our social medias are at Singletree BBQ. And then the LinkedIn is the same thing. Twitter is the same thing. They're all YouTube. It's all the same.
Cool.
And then the website is www.singletreebbq.com.
Awesome. Charlie, it's been great, man. Really appreciate you being on the show today and sharing
Yes,
with
sir.
us all your history, man, and where you're going to take Singletree. So
I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Been a ton of fun, man. Wish you the best of luck.
Yes, sir.
All right, take care.